Hi, everybody. Wanted to take a minute to come on here and talk a little bit about the idea of herbal energetics. So, you might have seen that I'm offering an introductory class. It's actually tonight. I meant to record this a while ago, but on herbal energetics. And a lot of people are asking, like, what even does that mean? Isn't that some woo woo thing? Like, why would I need to know that? And so consider this video like the intro to herbal energetics, because I just wanted to give this bigger sense of the picture. When you're starting to learn home herbalism, and maybe you're making remedies or you're starting to identify some of the plants growing outside, I think there comes this point of overwhelm where you might say, okay, I know what this plant is and I can read in the book what it's good for, and I know how to make a tea out of it, but I feel lost and overwhelmed because I still don't know, like, what do I call on when I need help, when I need medicine? I don't know. It doesn't come to mind. Like, it just seems out of context. And so I might have these remedies that I never use, or it just feels overwhelming. And this is where herbal energetics can really start to help you have a more experiential understanding of herbs and plant medicine. When we think about herbs, we're conditioned by sort of like modern media and what herbalism is in the media world, to think about, oh, this herb is good for this condition, right? And we're trying to match it almost like it's a one for one, as if it were just a replacement for a pharmaceutical. And that is not at all how plant medicine works. And so, understanding what herbal energetics are is actually going to help us key into the bigger picture of how the medicine actually works with an individual's body. So, when I'm talking about energetics, I mean the qualities and characteristics of a plant and it explains the effect that that particular plant has on the body. Okay, so we can talk about warming plants, cooling plants, drying plants, moistening plants, relaxing plants, and tensing plants that tense and tonify. So when we start to understand what a plant's actual characteristics are, like, this is how it works in the body, this is how it impacts the bodily tissues, then we start to look at plants and plant medicines in this more relational way versus a transactional way. So we're not saying, like, this plant does this, like, give me this for that, this for that, this for that. It's more about this entire relationship of certain chemical compounds in a plant with certain compounds in the body and certain physiological processes in the body, and how that those chemical compounds impact the bodily tissues, and its patterns. Okay, so this takes some of the pressure off of having to memorize giant lists of every possible action that something could help you with, and more about, hey, if I understand that this plant is warming and drying, and I start to understand the energetics of a condition, like a cough. A cough is not all one thing. Some coughs are very wet, okay, and they have a lot of mucus. Some coughs are very dry, and there's no mucus coming out. They're just irritated at the back of your throat. Some coughs are accompanied by, like, cold stagnation in the chest. Some are accompanied by heat. Maybe there's a fever. Some coughs are very weak and lax, like the tissues aren't toned at all. Some coughs are so tense and tight that they're just like convulsing, irritating coughs. So you look at your condition and you say, okay, is this condition wet or dry, warm or cold, lax or tense? And then let's match the herb that's going to bring it back into balance. So if my cough is cold and wet, then I'm going to reach for a warming and drying herb to bring all of those things back into balance, right? Now, if I reach for an herb, let's say an herb says good for coughs in the books, so I just think it's all one and the same. And so I reach for an herb that's good for coughs, and that herb is warming and drying, or that herb is cooling and moistening, but my cough is already cold and wet. I'm actually making my cough worse. And so this is why I see a lot of people claim like, oh, like herbs don't work. I tried them. Actually, herbs made it worse. It's because maybe you're using the wrong plant or the wrong preparation method or the wrong dose. But when you learn how to match plants to your individual condition, and even when you don't have an acute condition, your body has a basic energetic pattern, right? You might be a person who has a hot tendency, you're always inflamed, you're always overheated. Most of your problems come from that heat. You might be a person who's got too much moisture going on, right? You have oily hair, you have greasy skin, you have a lot of diarrhea, you have a lot of mucus going on, you have boggy conditions in your bladder, so you get UTIs. There's a lot of patterns in our individual bodies. And when we start to look at herbs and people and conditions from the point of view of patterning, then it becomes so much more intuitive as to how to match a plant to a person or to an issue in a way that's actually effective and not just guesswork. We're not just saying, oh, let's take a stab. Here's 27 plants that work well to support the urinary tract. So let's just pick one and then hope it works. And then maybe it makes it worse, maybe it doesn't. Instead, we're like using all of this information to help support ourselves and make educated decisions about which plants we will work with in which ways for which people. And so I really think that anybody who wants to have a decent grounding in basic home herbalism should at least know the basics of herbal energetics, and not just, to say that you know it, but it's going to really make you feel so much more confident about working with your home apothecary. And what's the point of building up all these remedies or knowing how to identify the plants if you don't know how to work with them or how to match them with you, and you are taking things you don't need, making things worse? Like, what's the point? And then beyond that, when you start to really key in to the patterns of the plants and this relational energy, it's going to open up the world of healing in general to you, to take it outside of this paradigm of like the pill for the ill, and to look at what it means to actually have a balance in your body that is more holistic and more about what is my whole experience and what is that telling me and what do I need and how can I support myself. So I hope that's like a helpful little intro to the intro. I'm posting this pretty late, but class is going to happen at 7 p.m. Central tonight. But the thing is that I'm going to record it. And so anybody who's registered will receive the recording tomorrow. And if you don't see this in time, I will keep that class open for people to just purchase it as a recorded class. It comes with like a 15-page downloadable guide as well that goes all into herbal energetics. And I'm going to put that link in the description video below this. But I hope that that is a helpful little introduction and that it makes more sense to you, like what herbal energetics even are and why it might be helpful to know them. So if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments. And as always, thank you for listening.